Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the place to be on a Monday night. The Monday Night Lights series continues once again. Skip Barber Racing at its finest here this week from Spa in Belgium, coming to you live. I'm your host this evening, wrong one. I'm your host this evening, Alex McKellar, and joining me once again after a bit of an hiatus, I have Mr. Tim Gorkocher. Tim, big night of racing ahead.
Alex, thanks for having me, mate. Pleased to join you again. And, of course, thanks to Tim Awima for having filled in those medium-sized boots the past few weeks. Appreciate that, mate. And sad to see you not joining us tonight on track. But, yeah, mate, Spa this week. Huge turnout, massive. 4 splits, 20 cars or thereabouts in every one. It is a big night for racing.
Certainly is, Tim. I tell you what, we're round 8 here, of course, at Spa, and the big guns are out to play. Second strongest field of the week, and what's been a return to a very popular, I guess, series for a lot of drivers. Biggest soft of the week was in the 4400s. Of course, the 2K Cup here this week bringing a few out, but this track itself bringing big numbers out tonight. We're looking at 3,760 odd or just over. Like I said, second strongest of the week. But what that means, folks, is big points, big names, and big action out there on track tonight, Tim.
Yeah, spot on the money. And this joint, you're guaranteed to get racing down to the last sort of handful of corners. And I'd say that there's been very few races this week that have been decided early in the piece. And it's a funny track because qualifying pole doesn't mean you're going to get to the first corner first. Obviously you do here at Eau Rouge, but by the time you're down Kemmel, chances are the guy in 4th or 5th has made his way past you. And plenty of action up the Kemmel Straight, heaps of passing, and it's a great place to race.
Absolutely, a lot of fun to be had out there tonight for sure. And just while we wait for the guys to finish off their qualifying run, let's take a look at the points for Monday Night Lights as they stand after 7 rounds. On top we have Bill Fraser, who's out there once again on track tonight, dominating what is his second season of Monday Night Lights. A good 50 points nearly out in front of Ben Snell, the leading local driver. Kevin Henderson, who I haven't seen out on track tonight. Yeah, I know he's there, I beg your pardon. Let's just jump over to Kevin there. He's there sitting in third, and I know he holds this series close to his heart. He's been in nearly every race for Monday Night Lights since its inception, and I know he puts a high price indeed on his wicket, so to speak, when it comes to where he finishes over in the overall standings. Jason Willman, who's neck and neck with Kevin in terms of the number of Monday Night Light events he's fronted up for. He's in 4th with John Scholz. We were talking about John off air and how much he's improved to become a Monday Night Lights top split regular, and he's out there tonight sporting the fantastic Team Venom Racing livery out there, car number 15, so he's only scraped into this 17 car field, Tim, but he's certainly out to put his stamp on it, Tim.
Yeah, as we touched on before, John Scholz has gone from strength to strength, and while car 15 in the field tonight, I expect him comfortably to be in the top 10. If all goes to plan, no contact, everything works nicely. He might be a 4th or 5th or a 6th, something like that, but he's going very, very well. So plenty of good drivers out tonight. A couple of new faces. We don't see Fahim Antonitis from the UK come out too often, but teammate to Italian regular Enzo Cantor. So I'm sure Enzo sort of got in his ear and said, heaps of points on offer tonight, mate. Come out and join us, and we appreciate for him coming. But it should be a great one, mate. First laps are in the bank by the look of things too.
Absolutely. I might just bring up the laps as the guys actually wind down, because of course this track is built for speed, and it's got a bit of length to it as well, because the guys will only get one lap in, one time lap that is. And just speaking of the great Fahim Antonitis, he and his teammate Enzo Cantor, who's just rounded out his lap, they're on top of the pops at the moment, and Fahim's a good half a second ahead of the next run of competitors, who are all tightly knit there from 2nd to 4th. There you got Enzo Cantor, Bill Fraser and Tim Hendrickson, 3 regular combatants this season. They're in 2nd, 3rd and 4th respectively, just half a second off, but Fahim really setting the pace out there tonight with Andrew Welter, a familiar name to this series. He's been off doing other things for a while, but Andrew's the leading local boy there, representing ANZ Club. He's in P5 with Kevin Henderson sitting in behind him. Great to see Simon Dopp, another Team Venom racer, out there again tonight. He's sitting there in P10, and he's staking his claim to improve what was a great series finish for him last season. He was in the top 5 for last season. Might even finish second from memory. I can't recall, but he is certainly out there to put on another good performance here tonight. So just the 43 seconds left in qualifying. Looks like most, if not all, have set their times. So what we might do is just run through the grid quickly while the guys are just running down their cooldown laps. On pole, we have Fahim Antonides, as we were saying, all the way from UKNI. His Mivano teammate in Enzo Cantor there from Italy in P2. P3 tonight is Bill Fraser from UKNI, looking to defend his title against some top flight competition here tonight. Tim Hendrickson, the last of the European charge, here to take on our local boys here tonight in P4 there. Moving over the page, Andrew Welter, first of the local boys in P5. Kevin Henderson, as we mentioned previously, looking to stake his claim here. Another leading ANZ driver in P6. Rod Pidnar, new to MNL, but certainly looking to stake his claim in P7. Yunus Amala, and I'm no doubt butchering that, Yunus, but he's in P8. Starting from 9th tonight, Iago Martinez from Iberia. In 10th, we see Simon Dopp, as we mentioned before, from ANZ. In 11th, John Scholz, looking to push forward from there, no doubt, against his teammate just ahead of him. Philip Stoneman from ANZ in P12. P13, Håkon Grebstad, unlucky not to set a time, no doubt picked up an incident point disqualifying his lap tonight. Will be making his way through, as will be Ben Snell. Two very fast drivers and regulars of the MNL series. Ben Furhove, similarly not setting a time, another very fast driver. Look for these guys to be coming through the pack. Perhaps similarly for Russell Clark, the Team Milo driver here tonight. Finally on our grid will be Richard Bagshaw from the UK and Ireland. No doubt taking a bit of a lunch break to join us here tonight, as is Fahim. But before we just quickly, as the guys take the grid, we'll take a look at the race info tonight. 9 laps, 21 turns around here, just under 7k per lap, 62k's overall, about 10k's more than we normally run here on a Monday night. Track temp, the big one to watch there, at 36 degrees centigrade. Pretty warm out there, but certainly will make for a bit of fun action out there tonight, Tim.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And I got to say, my tip for who's going to lead the end of the first lap, it's going to be a tough one because there's a lot of fast guys up front. But I reckon Andrew Welter from P5 is going to make a move around the outside of a couple of guys and look pretty at the end of the first lap. Going to be a good one. We're about to get underway.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, coming from P5 will be a challenge, but I reckon my money's on Bill Fraser to lead him at the end of the Kemmel for the first time. As the lights come on, the guys put their foot to the floor. Green lights are on, as we see in our picture still, and the guys are away, off and running in this lap 1 of 9 here tonight. We might grab a bit of a wider picture as you see them come through Eau Rouge for the first lap. This will be an amazing shot here if I get the right one as they come up the Kemmel Straight and see a string of buzzy bees all over the track here tonight. Tim, look at them, 4 wide here. Head-on shot looks amazing. Look at those cars, 4 wide up Kemmel Straight. Who's going to lead them into Lacombe for the first time? Looks like car number 4, Enzo Cantor. No, on the outside, Bill Fraser. These two renewing their battle. Bill Fraser holding a tight line side by side. Look at them. 2 by 2 they go through Lacombe for the first time. And Bill Fraser having to settle for third. Tim Hendrickson getting out of his way. And I tell you what, there's action aplenty already, Tim.
Yeah, there is. The Thrustmaster Miviano boys, Fahim and Enzo. Enzo leading at the moment. They'll be very, very happy. That's a start where it's rare for you to come through from first and second on the grid and maintain those positions. So a great job by those two. And Bill Fraser disappointed to not get the move done. But it's a clean start. Surprising here. There's often a lot of activity, but they've got through the first handful of corners pretty nicely. And there is one massive freight train going on.
Yeah, well, you may recall, those of you who joined us last season, we saw this kind of massive freight train for the first probably 6 or 7 laps of this race last season. And the guys, they know what's at stake here tonight. There's a lot of iRating, which is the skill-based point system that determines your rating within iRacing. Also, a lot of championship points here tonight. So the winner of this race gets about 217 points to the overall official iRacing season. So there's plenty on offer. Of course, the higher the strength of field, the higher the overall skill rating of the drivers in the field, the more points on offer. So that's what we aim to do here. We like to give our local boys, as they're going 3 wide down the back straight now, through Blanchimont on the tail end of lap 1. They get it down to 2 wide for the most part. But we like to build this platform here for the local guys. Oh, contact there. Bill Fraser, he's come back on the track. And it looks like he and Enzo and who else has gone with him?
Hendrickson's in there too. All over for those 3. Lots of damage.
Yeah,
Tim Hendrickson might get lucky and pull a fast repair through the pits, but it is going to cost him lots of time. And unfortunate for Enzo, clipped the inside curb, got pushed wide and into Bill. Tough to go through there 2 wide on cold tyres.
Yeah,
Ryan
absolutely.
Sheridan. But unlucky for those guys. A tough start to the race for them. And all over.
I'm just going to hop
for,
on board.
for a couple of the boys.
Just going to hop on board now as they head through there. Bill Fraser, he's on the outside. Enzo, it's going to be tough to hold that tight line through there, I have to say. And I'm not sure that he was able to in the end, was he? So he's gone tight, hit the curb, bounced out, and that's pushed him wide into Bill Fraser, who's then struggling to hold control, pushed back into Enzo and into the innocent bystander there that was Tim Hendrickson. All of them looking to really make a good fister tonight, and it's come unstuck through Blanchimont on the tail end of lap 1. What a shame for those guys and for the race overall, Tim.
Yeah, it is. And just looking through, Enzo's trying to make a fist of it. I'm surprised he hasn't got a meatball flag for too much damage, but he's hanging out there and looks like he's getting around okay without too much damage to the car. Lots of rear wing damage. Hopefully that doesn't cost him too much straight line speed. But Bill Fraser's in the pits. Tim Hendrickson's taken his fast repair and is back out there already. And unfortunate for those guys. But Fahim at the front, he had a 1.1 second lead going up the Kemmel and couldn't maintain that. Kevin Henderson, of all the old folks who are still getting around the place, he is in P2 and only half a second off for him. Great start for Kevin. And he'll be licking his lips. Might be able to bring home the bacon tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if he can hang on to that draft, he'll be doing supremely well. And just behind him, Andrew Welter in the green and black livery car. He's looking to make a great return to Monday Night Lights. Now, I'm watching this battle pack now. If we move back to this pack led by Ben Snell on the front of it now. All these guys that 1x'd or disqualified or discounted their qualifying lap, charging hard now. These really quick guys at the back, led by Ben Snell on front, John Scholz in P8. P9 is Håkon Grebstad with Ben Furhoff and Russell Clark, and all the way down to Rod Pidnar, who I'm unfamiliar with. But those guys are in this amazing pack, 6 or 7 cars in a row there, 2, 4, 6 cars in a row there, all battling it out, trying to do the best they can to fight their way back to a good result after, lucking out in quali, so to speak. Easy to pick up an incident point around here. An incident point is where a single one you'll score by running over the track limits, and it will discount your lap in quali. Because you only get 1 lap in qualification here due to the time constraints, well, that's all she wrote in those sort of scenarios, and you have to fight your way back through what is an amazing field here tonight. So these guys putting on a great show as they go through the final chicane on the tail end of just lap 2 of 9 now. Plenty of action still to come, Tim.
Yeah, there is. And look, Fahim's got a convenient little gap, 1.44 seconds as it stands as they run down the hill at the front straight up into Eau Rouge, and he's in control at the moment. But it's going to be tough. I mean, I just don't see Hendo and Andrew working together as well as they should and really maximising the time that is on the table by drafting together and really working together along the long straights and up the hill and so on. But we'll see how we get on. But Fahim, that quali lap was ridiculously quick, a 46.0, and he's just pumped out a 46.3 during his first clean lap, and he's looking really, really nice out there for him at the moment. So I think he's looking pretty comfortable, but there's Iago, Jonas, and Simon Dobb looking pretty comfortable at the moment in 4, 5, and 6. I think that little pack will be screaming to put a bit of pressure on Andrew and Hendo, Kevin Henderson in P3 at the moment, and see what they can do to get up and mingle for the second and third on the podium.
I tell you what, Simon Dopp, as we see him there in the Team Venom livery there, car number 16 on the tail end of this three-car pack, he would have a grin from ear to ear. P6 in the top split, and I know he's been improving and banking some good results, but I'm pretty sure this would be his highest finish in the top split. If he can hang on to these two in front of him, and better yet, maybe have a bit of an incident and prove himself for his first, what I think would be his first top 5 finish in the top split, that'd be a great night out for the Team Venom racer, and certainly cement his place further up the ladder in the overall point score for Monday Night Lights. As we jump back to that racy pack that we were talking before, don't let the position in the field fool you for these guys, folks at home. Ben Furhoff, who's leading this pack, lightning fast. Håkon Grebstad, another one, lightning fast. Ben Snell, another one, lightning fast. There's a whole bunch of these drivers all in a row, torn between working together and getting themselves clear of what is a very racy pack, all looking to get ahead, Tim.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how those, 6, almost 8 cars, because it's Enzo, P14 at the moment, and Richard Bagshaw, those two are going to work together, both experienced drivers. Enzo certainly has got plenty of experience, but those two will be working together to get up onto the back of this group of 6 and work their way forward. And a pack of 8, I mean, if they can work together, what are they, 3 seconds behind Simon and Co., who are 2 seconds behind Kevin and Andrew. So, mate, in, 3 laps in 4 or 5 laps time, we could be line astern from 1st through to 14th. Who really knows? But it's that kind of place, Spa. So it's looking pretty good at this stage, mate. And I think you're right on the money. Håkon, Ben Furhoff, Ben Snell, fast guys. And those sort of guys will be able to drag this group forward, bring them all forward, and make it one big freight train from 4th through to 14th.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? The one disadvantage of driving in a big pack around here is that you slow through that final chicane, and what we saw there was Enzo, who had a free rein. He joined this pack. They had a bit of a break on Enzo and Richard Bagshaw that we had the spotlight on there briefly as you were talking about them. But then the concertina effect happened after Blanchimont into the final chicane, and what we saw was Enzo get right on the back, driving with a bit of damage to be sure, but he's working hard to get what he can of the result that's or the cards that have been dealt to him. As we see that front of that pack, you got Ben Snell leading in Håkon Grebstad with Ben Furhoff behind. They're working hard to make a little break if they can. They got 1 point, just about 1 point even, or should I say, it's dropped down to about 7/10 ahead of John Skoltz, who are on now, with Russell Clark behind them, with Rod Pidnar and Enzo Cantor. Just again, this pack concertinaing into almost a full pack of 8 now, and certainly the guys getting their money's worth out on track there tonight, Tim.
Yeah, they are, and just look in that group, they're probably the top guys are in the 244s. For him leading up the front, 245, but it's going to be tough. I mean, 246s and low 247s for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Ben Snell and Co., they're going to have to do more. They're going to have to work together a bit better, because if you draft well at this place, it's worth a second a lap easily, and they're in the mid 47s, which, mate, at the end of the day, it's just not good enough. If you want to finish in that top 5-6 places, you've got to really have the pedal to the metal. And that's just not happening from the boys in 7th, 8th, 9th, and so on. But we'll see what they can do. Ben, obviously, very, very quick, and didn't get a quali lap in. Neither did Håkon. And I think for those two to be in 7th and 8th, respectively, is okay, but not where they want to be, So we'll see what they can come up with. But really, you're going to see better lap times out of those guys if they want to make amends and move up onto the back of 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm riding on board. Guess who, folks? I think you can tell who I'm riding on board with here, Mr. Andrew Welter. I'll tell you what, I'm really impressed. He has got on the back of Fahim Antonides after bridging that gap, and he's almost gapped Kevin Henderson. In fact, he's out past that magic 1 second mark now as we ride on board with him. He's right on the tail of one of the world's best skippy drivers here in Fahim Antonides, and really going to make a good fist of this, because I tell you, for him to bridge that gap when he was over half a second slower in quali is quite an impressive effort indeed. I mean, I don't know if he made a mistake perhaps in his quali lap, or he might be a bit of short of a run in a skippy, but I tell you what, his run to get on the back of for him there has really impressed me, Tim.
Yeah, he's doing really nicely and just coming up to the back for him. Surprised he hasn't pulled out to make a move and really use the momentum he had going up the hill in the draft, but he's only content to sit behind. They have a handy lead, 1.5 seconds over Kevin Henderson. And if they can keep operating nicely together, then they're going to manage that gap, and Hendo won't be able to come back at them, because that gap, I mean, the draft range for Skippy is 1.1 seconds and not a microsecond more. So 1.32, Hendo's caught up a little bit through the that complex at the top of Kemmel and Les Coombs, and I think he's going to have a tough time getting it back up. 1.8 seconds at the moment. It's not looking too good for him.
No, I can't agree more, mate. 1.4 is what I've got now, and Andrew Welter showing a bit of wisdom beyond his years there, as he used the draft to his advantage to extend that gap and perhaps make it too much for Kevin to bridge. So, look, he's done amazing well for a guy who hasn't done much time in a Skippy lately. I know he's tremendously quick in a broad range of cars, but to hop back in and straight away be on the tail end of the likes of him is very, very impressive. We might just jump back to that battle pack now. That on the front of that, we've actually got, lo and behold, Simon Dobbs progressed his way through that field. He's still in P6. There must have been some action there, because Håkon Grimstedt and Ben Snell and Ben Furhove have been shuffled down the order a little bit. They're in 7th, 8th and 9th respectively. John Scholtz on the tail end of them in P10, with Russell Clark and Enzo Cantor behind them, a little bit behind. So they've been dropped by that by that group in front. That's led now by, who's that? Iago Martinez, I think, is on the front of that group, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's right. But these guys, I don't know what they're playing at now, because they've got to get a wriggle on, because you've got to balance the effort of trying to bridge a gap and also stay safe in amongst all the draft and the passing manoeuvres as they head into the final chicane now. 2 by 2 they go in places. We see Ben Snell poke up the inside of Simon Dopp there to take a position. Ben Furhove looking to make it 2 for 1 behind there as well, if I can hop on board there, as they come into La Source at the tail end of lap 5. Now, as I was trying to say, you've got to balance between progressing through the pack that you're in and also bridging a gap and driving smart with the guy around you as well. So interesting to see how these guys play out the tactics, and there are a lot of tactics around here. Tim, have you got any insight for the people at home and how you'd approach this kind of pack racing at a track like Spa?
Really, there's only a couple of places worth putting the move on where you're not going to cost your group too much time, and obviously it's up the Kemmel and up the Blanchimont and so on. But obviously the runs into the chicanes, Les Coombs and corners 19 and 20, and obviously turn 1 at La Source are really, really important, and they're going to cost you heaps of time if you can't work together with the guys you're on track with. So keen to see what these boys can do. Obviously Håkon's got a 5-second gap to bridge back to Kevin, who's in P3, and he's well and truly fallen off now, 2.2 seconds, with very little hope, unless there's an error, of catching the boys out in front. But keen to see what will happen up the front here. And Håkon, he's found some pace. The last lap was a 45.5. He's close to the fastest car on track. Might have had a bit of draft assistance, but he's looking pretty good at the moment as he looks to bridge that gap to Kevin.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Despite my poor camera work as they come down into Puon now, it looked like Orchard was shot out of a cannon there with that draft, and he really slingshotted by and took the advantage through Lecom there, and has almost, got himself a little bit of a gap. He's got 3/4 of a second, which, as we know, is not enough to break the draft in of itself. But with this series of corners now, as they go through Campus, through then Stavilo, and down into turn 16 on the approach to Blanchimont for the tail end of lap 6. If he can use that series of the technical elements of the lap there to get a bit of a gap, he got it out another 10th and a half there. Unfortunately, not enough to perhaps to break away. It'll be interesting to see now. Already a 10th been made up in that draft by Jonas there, and I wonder what he and Iago will do by the end of this long straight as they go through Blanchimont now, down towards the final chicane. 2 by 2 behind him, and that gap, which was 8 tenths, is now 3, if you can believe it. Half a second on that straight alone, gobbled up out of what was a really fine effort from Hawken, Tim.
Yeah, frustrating for him. And look, I was sitting on board and he really didn't do anything wrong. Good, clean lines and really nice momentum. But at the end of the day, that's the benefit of the draft here. And if you can't get to that second, that magical mark, 1.1, 1 second, whatever it may be, then you're going to get caught on the next straight. And that is the nature of the beast at Spa. But Hawkon's got it all to do, and he's going to get past going up the hill by Jonas and Jago. Those guys are looking pretty racy, and obviously that draft just means so much here. But up through Eau Rouge, they're heading shortly. Up they go now, and as we thought, Hawkon driven really nicely through there, but Jonas and Jago got great runs as they pull out into the slipstream, off to the left, around the outside, and going to make the move very nicely. 3 wide now. Hawkon smart, pulls over to the left, going to back out a little bit as Jago thinks he's got a chance at leading up into the Les Coombs section 7, 8, and 9. Hawkon pokes his nose up there, might be able to pull a position back close to making contact, gets shuffled back by Jonas, but Hawkon's going to make the same move back to those guys going up the hill on the other side of the track from 15, 16 onwards. So he won't be too upset, but at the end of the day, disappointing for him. He couldn't get the gap out to be great enough to not have the draft in effect. And he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. As behind him does young Ben Snell. He's got Ben Furhoff and Simon Dopp in tow. They're looking to bridge what is now about a 1.5 second gap between those three we were just following there. And if anyone can do that, it'll be one of these two on the front here most certainly. And it'll be interesting to see if Simon can make his claim at that as well. Because Ben Snell and Ben Furhoff, we know to be both very, very fast, and Simon himself no slouch. So whether or not they can bridge that gap, though, will depend on the speed of the guys in front, but also how smart they race. As we jump back up the front now, we're on board with Andrew Welter, who's just tucked in behind Fahim Antoinitis still. He's been anywhere from sort of 2 to 4 tenths behind. I wonder if he'll look to go past on this straight. We might hop on board actually in the cockpit and see. No, he looks to be lifting and quite comfortably sitting behind. You know, just in doing that, they've gapped Kevin Henderson by 3.5 seconds now, if you can believe it, as Fahim looks to get a bit of that internet connectivity striking in a few problems there, all the way from the UK and Ireland. Of course, they come through that final chicane now. Tail end of lap 7, balance of 2 remaining as they head up to La Source for the tail end of lap 7, as we said. Andrew Welter really content to play the long game here and see if he can't make a move in the final stages. Tim, what would your suggestion be for Andrew? Would it be to go up the Kemmel Straight or through Blanchimont into the final chicane? Thinking last lap, mate, what would you do?
Yeah, Blanchimont into the final chicane is the place to get the move done. And personally, I'm a guy who likes to put it up the inside there and run around the outside of the left-hander, which is turn 20. So you have the run into turn 1 on the inside. More often than not, you're going to get the job done. Difficult to make it happen around the outside. But Andrew's looking pretty content in P2. You'd almost think he's in fuel conservation mode and he's doing a super skip race or something like that. But no fuel saving required here. 11 litres is what you need to get the job done. But he's looking very comfortable. And I look forward to seeing lap 8. We only got 9 here. We got 1 and 3/4 to go. I look forward to seeing what he can, the challenge he can throw down to Fahim, who's obviously lightning fast and he's in control at the moment. But if Andrew's close enough, running up that hill, he's just going to get the job done and drive around the outside. But it isn't easy to race for him. He's very, very, very talented, and he's got plenty of international experience. He races against fast guys every day of the week. So keen to see what he can do. But Andrew's got to hang on for the moment. Fahim's very racy. Low 45 last lap. That is mental fast. Very, very quick. And it's going to be a great last lap.
Yeah, looking forward to it, absolutely. A few of the comments from the crowd suggesting that Blanchimont might be the place to do it. I don't disagree, although if you can hang on and defend after going by Camel. That's your other option, of course. It'll be fascinating to see how these guys, what choices they make in that regard. Jumping back to what is now a big battle pack once again. We've got, who's out on front? Eunice on front there. They've actually bridged a bit of the gap. Oh, no, they haven't. They're about 5.5 seconds behind Kevin in P3. But Eunice on the front now. Hawk on, who's got Yago. Yago's number at the moment, or Martinez's number at the moment, with Ben Snell now, who's managed to bridge that gap. We were talking about it before. They had about 1.5 seconds to get back, and Ben Snell now looking to put all sorts of pressure. We might just see what he's got for us here. Ben Snell as they go through Blanchimont now on the tail end of lap 8, the penultimate time now, and he's striking blue livery as we know, and he's just tucked in behind. Question is, will he have a look into the final chicane? The answer is no. He takes a slightly defensive line to make sure no one dives him from behind, and also gives him a clean run at the inside should he need it. So he's had to defend. In fact, Ben Furhoff, terrible camera work once again, missed the overtaking opportunity, but it looks like Ben's done exactly what you suggested, defended through the chicane, Tim, and then got the inside run into La Source at the tail end of lap 8. So, you know, if I'd done better camera work, we would have seen exactly what you were talking about there, Tim, as they cross the line to start their final lap.
Don't stress, mate. Fahim and Andrew are going to put that what I suggested on offer. I don't think Andrew's going to, while he's got a great run up the hill, he's not going to make a run. I think he'd be silly to. Might run to the outside just to step Fahim up and put a bit of pressure on him. Sticks in behind right in the draft. And fuel conservation mode, of course, on the last lap. No need for that, buddy. But Andrew, as I said, he's got to make the run up the hill. That's all there is to it. You cannot get it done out of the complex of 19 and 20 at the chicane and the run to 1. It is just that difficult. And I think Andrew's only opportunity is up through 17, 18 on the run to 19. But let's stick on board and see how he gets on.
Yeah, riding on board literally now with Andrew as he's tucked up in behind Fahim. Look at the rotation in the car. Lovely car control from both drivers there as they head down.
Oh, there's a bit of a crash. Ben Snell catches the back of Yago Martinez on the exit of 9, running into 10. Perhaps a bit of netco, but really, really unfortunate. And that is all over for Yago, unfortunately. Those guys running very, very close. Heaps aggressive at the end of the Kemmel Straight through the 7, 8, and 9 complex, and very unlucky. Ben carrying a bit of damage, and it is Yago's race all over. He is back in P15, and a disappointing end to the night for Yago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw Ben Snell then cop another bit of a bite there, but we're going to follow the leaders now as they're on the final lap. They're coming down now into the tail end of the technical sections and out onto the back straight. We just see how this one plays out. What sort of tactics will these two use now? As Andrew Wells has been patiently biding his time behind Fahim. He's right up behind now. Beautiful work in the draft there. I'm betting he's going to pull up side by side potentially there. Fahim going through the narrow line there. Will he be able to hold it? Oh, Andrew Welter around the outside Verstappen style. Oh, as we almost lost Fahim. That'd be very unnerving. He's got the tight inside line now into the final chicane. Looking to get the move done early potentially, then take defence into the right hander now. Fahim, great late braking there through there. Gets a nice drive, Andrew, the over-under. But that leaves Fahim on the inside line now. What can these two do into the final corner? Down into La Source now. Into the final corner now for him. Got a beautiful tight line there. Can he defend? Will Andrew try the over-under again? Breaks early. Looks to go over and cut back underneath. But it looks like the Skippy of Fahim Antoinette has done it all from start to finish here tonight. Will take out a fantastic victory from Andrew Welter in P2. Fantastic driving from both guys.
Yeah, it was. And just not quite happening as Andrew would have liked, but that is the way it happens some days. Things don't always go your way, but a great result for him. P2 and a huge haul of points, plus 70 in IR is fantastic for Andrew Welter. So well done, Andrew. And of course, Fahim, he had that race in control, more or less led from start to finish after the lap 1 incident running up through Blanchimont towards the chicane for Enzo, Bill Fraser and Tim Hendrickson. So unfortunate for that lot, but well done to Fahim and Kevin Henderson, the silent runner, finishing in P3. Very lonely race in the end. He lost the draft and that was it basically. But he managed his race well. Ended up putting in some pretty consistent laps and had 5 seconds to the boys in front and 6 to the guys behind. But disappointing for Andrew. I know that wasn't the way he wanted to have the race end. And I think he went a bit late under brakes, gave for him far too much room. Disappointing.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was a fantastic closeout to the race. We all had to bide our time for that last little bit of action, but it was well worth the wait. Let's check them top to tail how the drivers out there tonight finished. As we saw, crossing the line, Fahim Antonides, flag to flag victory for him there tonight. He mentioned in the Top Split Discord earlier tonight that he's got the opportunity to spend some more time with us down here in the coming weeks. And judging by tonight's action, really looking forward to that. Andrew Welter, welcome return to Monday Night Light action, putting on a great display of driving there with Fahim towards the end of the race there, finishing in P2. Kevin Henderson, after being all in amongst it early, up 3 spots, similar to Andrew, and he's finished in P3 to round out a great night's race for him. Håkon Grebstad, he's held on to be up 9 positions in this quality field after not setting a qualifying lap. He's finished in P4, and a great result for Håkon. Jonas A. Amala, apologies Jonas, from Finland, has finished in P5, and welcome to the Top Split Racing here on a Monday night, Eunice. Ben Snell has hung on to finish in P6. Great recovery drive there from Ben, considering what we saw through the first lap. He ducked in for that quick fast repair, as you said, Tim, and he's fought his way all the way back to 6. I think I actually saw Ben Furhoff, either he was who's finished in P7, either he copped a slowdown in the final chicane, or he's gentlemanly, or in a gentlemanly fashion, let Ben Snell through after he's redressed after an incident that I think we caught a glimpse of in the final lap. Simon Dopp, well, he didn't quite crack the top 5, but he's cracked the top 8 in an extraordinarily strong field, and that's a great result for the Team Venom racer there. Enzo Cantor recovering, not quite as well as Ben Snell was able to, but certainly in the points tonight for Monday Night Lights, and finishing in P9. Rounding out the top 10, we see Russell Clark for Team Milo, a good result for him, up 6 positions after not setting a time, and that's a strong result for Russell in the context of this field. Followed there by John Scholz, who was unable to advance his starting position and finished in P11. Rod Pindar from ANZ, he was down 5 spots after qualifying pretty well on his first Monday Night Lights appearance. Is finished in P12. Richard Bagshaw from UK&I, great to see Richard up there in P13, and I hope he enjoyed the run. Philip Stoneman in P14 from ANZ. Iago Martinez, who we missed that final incident that you called as I was focused on the leaders, but a shame for him. He was in it up to his eyeballs all through the race, and he's unfortunately come undone in the last lap and finished down in P15. Tim Hendrickson, down 12 positions. He'll be very disappointed with that, but certainly he was in it early on, and perhaps to the race's detriment misses out tonight, as did Bill Fraser. Now, I don't recall, Tim, was Bill caught up in that first incident, or did I just miss him entirely? Do you remember?
Nah, Bill was caught up in the first incident, and unfortunate. Just watching the replay on my machine, and looks like Enzo's just caught the curb a little bit too much on the inside, and that's pushed him wide into Bill. And no neck code, a genuine touch, and Bill's got out sideways, and so much so that it's just at a level that he couldn't collect the sideways car, and he's got flung back across the track and into Enzo, and unfortunately Tim Hendrickson, the unlucky bystander, and his race was all over.
Yeah, actually, I recall now. It wasn't Ben Snell at all. He just didn't set a quality time, wasn't it? It was Tim Hendrickson. Yeah, I do recall now. Thank you for refreshing my memory, and I should remember.
Mate, I'll forgive you. It's okay.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
It's difficult there to run the stream and the cameras and commentate. I'll let that go.
Well, I'm proving that, mate. I'm proving it's pretty hard by the performance I've put on so far tonight. Listen, we've got young Mr. Snell there in the green room, mate. How about you have a chat to him while I try and pull up some replays, and we'll just bring him up now, and away we go.
Ben Snell, welcome. Tell me, you didn't qualify as well as you would have liked. I think you started last. What happened?
Oh, I got a 1x through La Source, so I almost finished the lap.
Frustrating, and I think so. You just ran too wide on the exit.
Yep. Yeah, just
Frustrating.
standard. Got on the gas too early and understeered. And
You
just
you had
a
all
little
the,
too
you
much.
did all the hard work. You got through 19 corners, 20 corners, and stuffed up. Well, what they call turn one on the conventional track, where the source is after the start finish line. So unlucky there, but it is the way it happens sometimes, mate. But pretty good result in the end, I got to say. You'd be happy with sixth.
Oh, I'm very happy with six. Hawkon and I just basically picked through the field and picked up the scraps of everybody killing each other.
Yeah, no, it looked like a good result for you too. And we spoke a lot in the during the race of the need to work together and possibly bridge the gap to Henderson. But obviously, actually, you probably wouldn't know, but you guys were about 10 seconds back from Hendo and ended up around the 6 second mark behind. So the back half of the race looked to have come together pretty nicely for you. And sixth is a more than reasonable result considering qualifying basically last. I think for those who made errors in qualifying, that your iRating determines whether you start ahead of someone else. So perhaps not quite last. I think P14 is where you qualified, but 6 is a good result, mate.
Back. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere at the back
can't
you would have
complain.
you would have had a good view of what happened between Enzo Bill and Tim Hendrickson, no doubt. What was your take on it?
No, I just saw smoke and spinning cars as I drove past.
So what do you do when that happens? You just keep it buried like in Days of Thunder?
Yeah, Days of Thunder. Yeah.
Nice. Obviously that worked pretty well. So P6, mate, well done. And anyone you want to thank tonight?
Just as usual, thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast. And we have 4 splits this week. It's a great turnout, didn't it?
We did 76 or so entrants, which is it's fantastic and a good soft, mate. So plenty of points on offer for you tonight. I think we had 3,760 or thereabouts. And to save you looking up the race results, mate, you gained 37 IR. So a good little result for Ben Snell. Well done.
How much more safety rating did I lose?
That doesn't show up, care of JRT, but I'm sure you lost plenty, mate. So.
Oh, yeah, heaps. I'm good. I'm fine.
Oh, tell me one last thing. Bit of contact with Iago Martinez. Unfortunate coming through, what's the section of corners? Lacooms.
Yes. I think he went, as he's come out, I've gone to cut back, and apparently my nose was still under his gearbox. And unfortunately, I just turned him around.
We'll call it a racing incident, mate, because you're an Aussie. So look, we can't have the Aussies not rocking up to Monday Night Lights. So unfortunate. Obviously, a great race up until then, and P6 a good result for you. Not so good for Iago, but I hope we see him back next week for another fun night of MNL.
Yes, it's always good fun. Thanks, guys.
Good on you, mate.
Well, there you have it. Yeah, look, fantastic turnout tonight, as you say, Tim. After the dragging our heels through the previous couple of weeks as far as participation goes, Spa, such a popular track. Again, we had 4 splits tonight, so fantastic from that point of view. We'll bring up Mr. Grebstad, who was also involved in that race, before we look at perhaps the second split results as well. So let's bring him up here. Mr. Grebstad, welcome to the Monday Night Lights commentary booth here at Top Split TV, mate. Quite an eventful race for yourself by the looks after missing out in qualifying. Talk us through a bit of your race tonight.
Yeah, snatched up a simple 1X in one of the corners during quality, and that really set me back. But I felt like I made an effort, and made up quite a lot of position. Good fun, and yeah.
Yeah, well, mate, second strongest field of the week, 3,700 plus strength of field, and you've jumped up. What's that? 9 positions in that quality of field to finish 4th, mate. That's a result to be proud of for sure. So, mate, it looked like it was door handle to door handle much of the way. What was your strategy going into those final couple of laps?
Just go hard.
Just send it.
That's it, mate. Well, thank you once again for turning out for this race that we all enjoy so much. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
You guys and you guys.
Thanks, mate.
You're too kind.
Well, you've done Team Oval Team proud once again, mate. We look forward to seeing you next week.
And I'm looking forward to a race next week. Yeah. See you then.
Beautiful. Thanks, Hawken.
Now, I did notice Fahim was in Discord chat a moment ago, and he did ask whether we want him in chat. Do you think it would be rude to bring him up, even though he's not in the green room?
Oh, I'd be happy to, but I don't. Look, why don't we just? Hopefully he'll watch this back, and we'll just say he's welcome anytime because I don't want to drag up. Look, I mean, there's 1,000 people down there, and I don't.
It is
really,
a busy chat room at the moment.
look, you know me, my preference for PG, mate. So I don't know.
Yeah, we better not join them.
No, I think we might leave that. But look, while we've got everyone here, thank you to Les Peck who sent me through the second split results, which is where we see many of our Monday Night Lights regulars. And tonight, what's our result there? Hang on, let me just chuck that view on there. So we've got, as far as our regulars go, Mick Gray, who missed out on the top split tonight, but didn't miss out on a good result. He's finished second there, with just behind Fran Gongora, who's unfamiliar to me, but he started first and finished first. And Mick starting second and finishing second. Great result for Mick. Got a lot of time for Mick on track. He's a canny racer. I've often said, brilliant racecraft. A guy who I know I model a lot of my thinking about racing on, and a gentleman to boot. Les Peck himself has come up with a pretty good result there in P4, just ahead of his Team Venom Racing teammate Brad Parkin in P5. Just scanning for some other regulars. Ken Hyams, great to see Ken out on track. He finished in P9 just in front of another Team Venom driver. Team Venom taking over the world down in P10, Mark Jeffrey. Simon Chambers, so I tell you, Tim, I don't know if you've noticed, but he's been really coming along. He's in the 2200s now, even after losing 60 rating, finishing down in P14, which will be disappointing for him. And P15 saw Jason Willman, who's currently third in the overall championship for Monday Night Lights, all the way down in P15 after just missing out on the top split tonight, which is a shame for Jason. So great to see many of our regulars out on track, even if they weren't in the top split tonight after a return to the high softs that we've become accustomed to here tonight. So great to see them out there, and thanks once again to Let's for sending that through. Oh, look, hang on.
The Miviano boys, they're here.
The Miviano boys again. All right, we'll go. They've caught me off guard. All right, let's go in finishing order, as is the often the case here. We'll bring up Fahim Antonides to say good day. Fahim Antonides, Alex McKellar, and Tim Gorkoch are here in the top split booth, mate. It's great to see you there. What a race, mate! Flag to flag, great quality time, and Andrew Welter giving you a run for your money there, mate. How was it out on track?
Oh, it was great. Unfortunately, behind me, my teammate Enzo and Bill got involved in a tangle, and there was a lot of heated discussion in the iRacing room about it. And you can always point a finger at the usual suspects because they're repeat offenders, but you've got to be able to strip those occasions out when they're racing incidents. And I truly believe it was a racing incident. But as far as my race went, well, it was pretty trouble-free. Andrew played smart. He was quick. He kept along. And, usually on this track, you don't want to be the one leading into the last lap. And I didn't feel like feigning a mistake to let him through. It just didn't sit well with me. And I thought I'm just going to have to slug it out with him. Obviously, we had to do the old switcheroo at the end.
Yeah, can I tell you, we were watching that run through the final chicane there, and you played a masterful hand, mate. He took the defensive line there, you crisscrossed back, and he got, Tim and I were talking about it during the broadcast. You want that inside run into La Source to finish off the lap, but you don't expect to get it from the outside on the approach to the final chicane, mate. So that was a fantastic piece of driving there. And
thank you. I mean, it was going to be. It's a difficult move to do, as you can probably imagine, trying to get on the outside. But it was all down to braking fidelity. Really managing that brake pedal, micromanaging it to make sure that you're inching ahead of the guy on the inside so that you've got the outside line and back into the inside of the second part of the chicane. Then at that point, you can almost park it on the chicane and kill his momentum so that you get a better exit. As it happened, Andrew actually got a pretty decent exit, and he was out dragging me. But as long as I was on the inside for the hairpin, Then it was job done. So it was another way of winning it. Usually I do it by being second going into the last lap, but this time we did it somehow by being first into the last lap.
Yeah, congratulations, mate. It was a fantastic drive, and I believe that you'll
Cheers.
be able to join us a bit more regularly, all going to plan.
Yeah, I've kind of given up commuting into London every day. I've won back 3 hours of my life a day, and that gives me time to, work from home. Working from home gives me time to join you guys regularly on a Monday. So I look forward to seeing you next week as well.
Awesome, mate. Well, we look forward to it. And while we've got you here, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out first and foremost to you guys because this is a labor of love, isn't it? It's a hobby for everybody, and we love watching these broadcasts and listening to them. I watch them all the time. I think you guys do a fantastic job, and obviously my team, Thrustmaster Movano, and my teammate Enzo, who I'm sure he's like I said, he'll come on board and give his version of the story of what happened today. So for me, that's it. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Thank you for the kind words and also for your support, mate. We genuinely look forward to seeing you back next week. And I tell you what, there's some fast guys that have been turning up regularly, and you're well and truly amongst them. And we're grinning from ear to ear at the prospect of the future races. So thanks again, mate. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Nice one, Alex. Cheers, Tim.
Thanks for him.
All right. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, and you're right, it is a pleasure to have Fahim, and he's such a talent. And you're on the money, polite and kind, and has some great things to say. And it is a labour of love, but we do enjoy doing it. It isn't a chore, that's for sure. And he's a great talent. We look forward to having him join the ranks. Enzo, Bill, Tim, of course, all racing tight up the front. He'll be a great addition to the Monday Night Lights events.
Yeah, fantastic to know that we've got a bit of reach around the world too. Because we do this for the love and for the community. So it's great to get that sort of feedback, and we really do appreciate it. Now, our final interview for tonight will be, of course, young Enzo. Let's see what his take on events were. Mr. Enzo Cantor joining us here in the Top Split TV commentary booth after quite an eventful opening lap and then a hard charge through the field. Enzo, tell us a bit about your race tonight.
Hi guys, I'm here always because I put my face every time, even if I do mistakes. And I was fast here in qualifying. I knew I could be fast, so I didn't push so much in the qualifying because we have only one lap time in the qualifying laps. So the important thing is to not take off tracks and be safe inside the track. So congratulations to my mate Fahim for that super lap. And then simply what happened was that I was trying to be the more tighter I could near the the inside curb in order to leave room to my teammate and Bill. But I did a little mistake hitting the curb. My car jumped over it, and my line changed a little bit on the right. And we had that contact that I think could be avoided if Bill would leave a little bit more room, taking an off track. I think it was my mistake, but a racing incident, because in the first lap there are a lot of cars at Blanchimont, and if you want to be sure to stay alive, you can take an off track in that point in order to leave more spaces, because you don't know how many cars are near you, 2-3 wides, and if you are outside there, the most I think a smart thing is to take an off track and avoid any kind of contact. But it was my mistake, so I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no, thanks, Enzo, mate. We always appreciate you coming up and giving your thoughts on the race. And yeah, look, I did see it as myself as somewhat of a racing incident, as you say. Holding the tight line there with multiple cars can be a real challenge, and and unfortunately just, as you say, hitting the curb and pushing wide there. But it was after such a great start. We saw the Tumivano races up there leading the way. So, what could have been. But it was, I tell you what was it like having Fahim out there with you again tonight? That must have been a good feeling anyway.
Yeah, our project was obviously to work together and to try to go away or to battle till the last lap with the other fast drivers as Bill and Tim. Unfortunately, again, I did a little mistake, and I'm very sorry for that because really I didn't want to hit Bill. I hope next time I will be more lucky. And the problem is that Tim Hendrickson was involved too in the incident. I'm very sorry for that too. But me and Bill are a little bit rivals. So every time we are side by side, no one wants to leave throttle. And probably, again, it is not a too fair move to go completely outside there, pushing to the throttle in order to pass someone. But it's a smart thing if you want to avoid contacts in the first laps. So again, my mistake, but it could be avoided by a little bit different line by Bill.
Yeah, look, I tell you, I'm looking forward to seeing yourself and Fahim and Bill and Tim all battling in the coming weeks. It's really something to get excited about. And I tell you what, viewers at home, make sure you continue to tune in on a Monday night, because the racing promises to be outstanding from here on out. So Enzo, before we let you go, please give a shout out to your sponsors and your team.
Yeah, surely I have to say thanks to my team, Trasmaster Mivano, my team manager Fabio Mantellini, obviously my teammate Fahim that won this race, and congratulations to him and to the podium too.
Excellent. All right, Enzo, thanks again for joining us and your ongoing support, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
See you. Thank you, guys.
Well, there you go, Tim, and I'll just hastily try to get off that incident that I was just reviewing there. Unfortunate time. It took me a while to find it, but I'll tell you what, there's some action on track in and around that. And look at that, you got your three of your top four drivers, what could have been there, cars 1, 2, and 4, all involved in unfortunate racing incident, but one that probably robbed us all in the end, Tim.
Yeah, it was. I got to say thanks to Andrew and Fahim for putting on a good show without the number 1 and 2 drivers in the field. But unfortunate for those guys, and I completely agree with Enzo that he took a little bit too much curb on the inside, and an absolute racing incident, and really unfortunate that Bill was involved, and obviously Tim came through to pick up the pieces. Disappointing for them, but like on the table, those guys left a collective maybe 300 I rating, went begging from off of Bill, Tim, and Enzo's scorecard. So disappointing for those guys, but no doubt they'll all be back next week. And an unfortunate racing incident.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry for my little chuckle, despite what our viewers joining us in chat might think that was not Tim Hendrickson's fault. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here once again tonight, as we might start winding things up. Anything happening in the week of Tim Gorkwatcher this week?
Yeah, I got 4 official Skippy races in at Spa, and really enjoyed it. So I think I'll be on for that again. And hopefully, if Tim Awima is finished polishing his simulator, then he'll be keen to jump into the combox again and allow me to race.
Well, that golden gear needs a bit of a polish from time to time. It's got to buff up nicely, I'm sure.
That's it. Yeah, Bunnings sell this stuff. It's called it's like this special gold shine, and it's amazing on the 24-carat sim rig that Tim Awima owns. But anyway, a bit of skippies on the cards, mate, but otherwise not too much, I don't think. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, you'll find me as usual on at least on a Friday and Saturday night over at Top Split TV, over on Twitch, live racing. Had a good run on Friday and Saturday this week, and really enjoyed it with the Friday Night Race Club. And shout out to all those guys who I know, quite a number of them join us in chat. And Shero, the man himself, who the man behind the men who race on a Friday and Saturday night, he joins us as always, and we appreciate his support, along with those of you who join us both on track and at home for the broadcast. But until next week, same bat time, same bat channel for Monday Night Lights, at least here on YouTube. I've been your host, Alex McKellar, and joining tonight once again was Tim Gorkwatcher. And on behalf of him, I will wish you good night and say ciao for now.